Beautiful. Don't you love being a part of a school that lifts up our Savior name in praise, calls people to salvation at commencement? That's an awesome place. Well, now it's time to hear from our valedictorian, Sammy Hoag. He maintained a GPA of 4.296.
Wow.
And Sarah tells me that's 4 times his GPA. Nice. He'll be attending Colorado Christian University. We're going to have him on speed dial for help in our PAC doing sound. He'll be majoring in biology, and I'm sure spending as much time as he can in the beautiful mountains that he loves so much. Our valedictorian, Sammy Hoag. Okay, just a second. All right, so as Mr. Cooper said, I'm the valedictorian, which means that I'm supposed to give the final words or the final greeting to not only my class, but to everyone who's here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened. So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. That quote from the first Lord of the Rings movie in the trilogy presents what I believe to be an important message that every one of us should take to heart. We were put here for a reason. The truth is, though, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. This is also what I would say is an excellent summary of my standing here before you today, and for all of us, especially my classmates. For those of you who know me, and even for those of you who don't, I'm usually not the one at this end of the microphone. I'm usually at the other end. I am usually the one sitting at the back of the room, or it'd be a ton more comfortable adjusting all the little levels to make my voice sound as good as it absolutely could. Or I'd be standing in the mountains, which you would normally be able to see behind me. I'd be standing ankle deep in a high alpine stream, catching beautiful little trout fly fishing. But as a part of God's plan, I'm standing here before you all. First off, I'd like to thank every single one of you for being here on this, our very special day, our graduation day. I'd specifically like to thank, on behalf of my graduating class, a few key figures in our lives. Firstly, our families, all of you sitting out there today. Whether it is the parents or the siblings or aunts, uncles, grandparents, I know that most of us, if not all of us, have received a lot of support from you when we're not at the school building. We're at home, doing homework, and you spend countless hours with us, encouraging us to get what we need to get it done, so that we can succeed. Secondly, I'd like to thank friends. I know that I have a few friends sitting up here today who I would not have made it through high school with. Excuse me. I'm not really sure if it was the joking around during free periods that helped more, or if it was the actual advice that I could get at any moment if I wanted it. Regardless of the fact, they are friendships which will last a lifetime. Thirdly, I'd like to thank all of our teachers and the staff members. You have spent so many hours giving us piles and piles of homework, which made us seem like school was all we did besides sleep. But, on a more serious note, you have poured out from yourselves immensely, and you have just blessed us. Even when it may not have seemed like it, you were always there, investing in us because you wanted to see us succeed. Even though you didn't really have to, yes, it's your job, but you don't have to. And I really appreciate that. Finally though, and most of all, I would like to thank God. He put us all here together, blessed us immensely, and even though it may not have always seemed like it, He was always there rooting us on. I would surely not be here if it wasn't for each and every one of you, including God. And I know we as a class probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for every single one of us in this room today. God gave each and every one of us talents. No two of us are alike. Just like the trout in the stream that I'd love to be catching right now. Wait, sorry, back to my speech. Some of us sitting up here are musicians. Some of us are athletes. Some of us are actors. Some of us leaders. Some of us followers. And frankly, the list goes on and on and on. Each of us are individuals, and there's no one of us that's like another. To my fellow graduates, when I was trying to reflect on the last 4 years we have spent together here at Front Range in high school, I just kept thinking back to the themes our school has had. Freshman year was, does anybody know? Crazy love, thank you. To be perfectly honest, we were pretty crazy people. We were the underclassmen, we were the freshies. We did all sorts of crazy things trying to incorporate ourselves into the high school crowd. Well, now that we're all graduating, it all comes back to haunt us. We're going to be the freshmen again. But learning to love in every direction is definitely something that we can do, each in our own way, with the time that God has given to us. Sophomore year was do hard things. This is not to say that we did some things which could have been death-defyingly hard, which some of us may or may not have done, but to not just stop halfway when it came to our walk with God, but rather to do the difficult things in life by rebelling against low expectations, to truly do the hard things and not give in to the pressures of the world. Junior year was seek, know, and make known. What better way to describe what we are to do and how we are to go about doing it? We are to use the talents that God has given to us to seek Him out, endeavoring to know Him on a deeper level, so that we can make Him known to the world around us. And finally, senior year, radical. How are we to make God known to the world? By being His radical followers and disciples. As one of my closest friends shared not too long ago in her chapel, God has given us power, and to grasp onto this power is something truly radical. To use that power to glorify God is a radical decision. To use this power is a choice that she has made in how to use the time that God has given to her. I know that it is something that I am trying to do, and that I hope every one of us here will also. Using our talents in a way to glorify God is something that many of us are already doing in some way. We're being radical in some way, guys. Whether it's the athletes who are putting their all out there to glorify God in how they play, or the musicians and the actors and actresses taking the stage to glorify God in their performance. Those are just a couple of the ways that we can radically use God's gift that He has given us in the time that He has given us so that we can bring Him glory. Many of us in this graduating class probably remember earlier this year when we had to memorize 17 whole verses in Colossians 3. And most of us were not super excited about the amount of time and effort and energy that this took. The last verse, though, is one that I truly want us to never forget as a class. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him. Each of us here today has different talents which God has gifted us. Whether it's my classmates standing up here who are graduating today, or all of you family members or the staff members and teachers here. Each of us has the talents. It's not for us to decide what will happen to us in the future. But what we can decide is what we're going to do with the time that is given to us. We have to decide how to use whatever may come our way, along with our talents and our gifts, in a way to glorify God. If you forget everything else that I've said today, I want you to remember this last thing. I would say there's no better way to capture this concept than in Colossians 3:17. Whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him. Thank you.